Hello everybody. In this video we are going to see the topic called list, tuples and data abstraction and structures. First let's see list and tuples. Kindly watch the video till the end to know the content in depth. Let's go into the topic. We use computers to store data and retrieve the data whenever we need it. So data are mostly used to store data and process the data and see the output of the data. So to store data in memory, many methods are used. One such way of storing data are list and tuples. So to study about list and tuples, we must first know how arrays are used. We have already studied how arrays are represented. Array holds a group of same or similar types of data. So just like arrays, list and tuples are collections of data. But unlike array, list and tuples can store different types of data. Just remember this point, array can hold same type of data, whereas list and tuples hold different data types. List and tuples are also called as pair, a compound data structure. Let's first see in detail about list. We already know how arrays are represented. Example, int a of 20 is equal to curly bracket 10, 20, 30 and close the curly bracket. Here the square bracket 20 represent the size of the array and the values separated by commas are the values that are stored inside the array. So the size of the array is represented using square bracket and the values are stored inside the curly bracket. So similarly, the list is also represented by a square bracket separated by a comma. Such expressions are called as list. List can store multiple values, that is, various types of data can be stored in list. It can be a number, an alphabetical value, a floating value, any types of values can be stored. That is called multiple values. Values stored in list can be of any type and can even be another list. Even another list can also be stored in a list. In list, the values can be updated. That is, once the values are stored in list, the value can be changed if needed. Here let's see the example of a list. List is equal to 10, 20. The second example is inside a list we have stored 30, a character A name Ramu and Chennai 20.5. Here different types of values are stored. Here a number is stored, a character is stored, a string is stored and a floating point is stored. So a list can hold different types of values. So to access these values, the list can be accessed in two ways. First method is unpacking a list into its element and bind each element to a different name. Here let's see how we access the list. LST is equal to 10, 20 is this expression that's given. So here the values are packed inside the list. Next we are going to unpack the values and assign the values to a variable. So x, y assigned as list. So here the value 10 is assigned to x and 20 is assigned to y. The second method is accessing the elements using index value. The index value starts from 0. So LST of 0. This is the first position. So 10 is stored in first list index value and 20 is stored in the second list index value and is represented as LST of 1. List can be mathematically represented similar to a set. LST square bracket then 0, 10 and 1, 20 where 0, 10 the 0 represents the index position, 10 represents the value. Same way 1, 20 1 represents the index position and 20 represents the value. In our book it is given that any way of bundling two values together into one can be considered as pair. So bundling two values together into a single pack and treated as one is called pair. List is a common method to do so. Therefore, lists can be called as pairs. Now let's see the representation of rational numbers using list. We know a rational number consists of a numerator and a denominator. So to get the values of numerator and denominator, a pseudocode is given here. First, the constructor rational n, d. Return n, d is given. So to get the values of n and d, the first selector numerator of x is used. Here the value of x is received from the user and it is returned as x of 0 to the constructor and it is stored in the variable n. Next, the denominator value d is received from the user and it is returned as x of y and is stored in the variable d in the constructor. So this is how the rational number using list is represented. Next we see tuples. Tuple is also represented the same way as list. The list is represented using square bracket, whereas in tuple, the values are surrounded inside the parenthesis. So, in list we can change the values, but in tuples the values cannot be changed once it is assigned. Let's see the example. XYZ assigned as 10, 20.5, green, red. Here also different types of values are stored in XYZ. Let's see the second example nums assigned as 10, 20. So these are the two ways or two examples of tuples. Now let's see the representation of tuples as a pair. Nums assigned as 1, 2. Here the value can be accessed using the index value as we saw in list. The same way here also we can access nums of 0, 1, nums of 1, 2. Here the square bracket represents the index value, that is the position in which the value is stored. The first element 1 is stored in nums of 0, that is index 0 position. Second element 2 is stored in nums of 1, that is index 1 position. So this is how the tuples are represented and used. Just know the difference between list and tuples. List, once the values are stored, the values can be changed if needed. But in tuples, we cannot and never can be changed the values once assigned. The second difference is the list is represented using a square bracket, whereas the tuples are enclosed within a parenthesis. So these are the two differences between list and tuples. Now let's see the next topic, data abstraction in structures. Since list and tuples have few disadvantages like what does the values inside the list or tuples represent? Let's see the example. List is equal to 120 Raju Chennai. By seeing this list, we know some value is stored inside, but actually we cannot say what each value represents or how it is related to each other. In this example, the first element is serial number, second element is age, third element is name, and fourth element is place. But by seeing it in a glance, we cannot relate these elements. Now let's consider the second example. Consider the following list which holds what values to be stored in the list. The list represents a person. A person's details are stored as given below. Here in this diagram, the person is the class name which can hold multi-part data. And the second one, creation, is a function which creates a value for the person class. And the remaining four are the field names. First name, last name, ID and email. These represents the field that store values in class person. First name is a field which holds first name of a person. Last name is a field which holds last name in the field. ID is a field which holds the ID of a person. Email is a field which holds email of a person. So, according to the field name given in the person list, the values are stored. So, this diagram shows the values stored in the list person. So, the values that are inside the person list is Padmashri, Bhaskar, 994, 222, 1234, compscience@gmail.com. The list given here holds the values according to the field mentioned in class person, but still it doesn't explicitly mention what each part represent. By seeing the list, it doesn't clearly tell what each value represent. So instead of list, we can use structure construct. The following is the pseudocode of class structure. Here the given example is class person, function name, creation, and first name, last name, ID, and email is assigned to the following fields. This represents the new data type person. Let's see how the values are stored in person class construct. Let main contains P1 assigned as person. The person class creates an object called P1. Padmashri value is assigned to the field first name. Bhaskar is assigned to the field name last name. 9942221234 is assigned to ID, and comscience@gmail.com is assigned to the field name email. Here in this class construct, an object called P1 is created for person class. So using object P1, one person's detail are created using creation function. So P1 object or P1 person's first name, last name, ID and email is created. Similarly, we can get the details for many persons by creating objects separately. So using the class construct, data abstraction can be implemented and group of related data items can be created and handled with the help of functions defined inside the class. So we can say a class as bundled data and the functions that work on that data. So using data abstraction, complex data items can be treated in a very simple manner. So this is all about list, tuples and data abstraction in structures. So with this video we have completed chapter 2 data abstractions. Other videos related to these chapters are given in description. If needed, watch those videos. And thank you and see you in the next video.